Today we're going to be looking at equations and how to solve multi-step equations. Now look at this worksheet right here. We're going to be using these 5 steps across the top right here to solve an equation, and you're going to use the same steps over and over again on this worksheet. And I've added a few extra problems after this in order to help give you some more examples. Now looking at this first 2 problems, go ahead and write these down. And then pause me while you do so. Now, as you look at this first problem right here, you have 3x minus 8 equals to 10. The first thing you're going to do is check across here. Do we have any fractions? Do we need to clear parentheses, combine like terms, undo addition, subtraction, or undo multiplication? You always work these equations from left to right. So the first thing I'm going to do is start on the x side, and I'm going to undo my negative 8. It will be a plus 8. And when this cancels out and bring down the 3x, I'm going to divide, and we're going to do step number 5. We're going to divide by 3, and x will give you 6. Now you can quickly check this out to see if this is the correct answer. I'm going to get out of my table, and I'm going to turn it back on and clear it. So I can take my answer and just substitute it back in. I have a 6 minus 8, and I see that it is answer of 10. This is a quick way to know if you are correct or not. Now look at problem number 2. On problem number 2, you see you have a fraction. So we have to clear fractions. That's the very first step. So we're going to multiply everything across here on both sides by 4 right here. Because when we say 4 times 1, we get 4 divided by 4, and that will give us 1a right here. So this is what you're doing right here. 4/1 times 1/4 equals 1, and that is what that is. Now, 4 times 10 is 40. 12 times 4 is 48, so that's a negative 48. Undo a subtraction right here, so you're going to add 40 to each side, and your answer will be 1a equals to a negative 8 or a equals to a negative 8. You do not have to put the coefficient of the 1 in front of the a. It is still fine. Now we're going to go ahead and check these. And like I said, it does not take long to check these. So I'm going to go to alpha y equals. And let me try this again. Alpha y equals. Hit enter. And we're going to put in our answer of a negative 8 over 4. As you can see, it does not take long to do this. It will take less time on your calculator than me clicking my way through this. And hit enter. And you see that this right here does not match. And so, as we look at this right here, minus 10, okay, here's what I did. I typed in my answer again right here instead of a 10. So I'm going to go back, and I see that my problem is minus 10, not minus 8, and the answer does match. So this is the way to check to make sure that you are correct. Now the next one, you're going to do the same thing. You've got to get rid of fractions. So multiply both sides by your denominator of 3. 3 times a negative 4 is negative 12. Negative 12 divided by 3 will give you negative 4. Divide both sides by negative 4, and you see your answer is a negative 15 over 2, or it is a negative 7.5. It depends on if you want to write it as a fraction. And you see that this did terminate. Terminate means that it stopped. It does not repeat. And just like before, I can type it back in, and I see I have a negative 4 times my negative 1.5, or you could use the fraction here. It does not matter. It will give you the same answer over 3, and my answer should be 10, and it is. Now, look at this right here. We have to clear, we don't have any fractions, but we do have to clear parentheses. So we're going to multiply all the way across using the distributive property of multiplication. 3 times 2w is 6w. 3 times a negative 1 is 3. And then bring down your 6w minus 4. Always try to get your variables from the right-hand side over to the left-hand side. And you see when you use the inverse operation right here, a positive 6w becomes a negative 6w. This cancels out. Bring down what's left is a negative 3. Does not equal to a negative 4. So this is false. So this is a no solution. Now look at number 5. And when you're looking at number 5, you see that you're going to use distributive property. And I have understood to be coefficients of 1 right here and also 1 right here. So now we're going to use distributive property. We're going to clear the fractions, parentheses right here. So we're going in order, going across. When you multiply this out, it gives you 12x minus 20. Bring down the negative 1x. Bring down your negative 1x plus 16. Combine like terms. That's step number 3. So when you say 12 minus 1, that gives you 11x minus 20. Undo a subtraction right here and add the 1x to both sides, and that will give you 12x right here minus 20 equals 16. Now undo subtraction, so you're going to add to both sides because we're right here at step number 4. And then we're going to divide, step number 5. Divide by 12, and that will give you an answer of 3. Now I can very quickly see if this is correct. And so when I look at this problem right here, if we can get this clear, I'm going to put in 4, parentheses, 3. Now I'm going to put another set of parentheses for my x right here, which is 3, parentheses, minus 5, parentheses, minus, parentheses, and my number is 3. So every time there was a x, I put 3 in parentheses. Get your answer, which is 13. Now we're going to come to this side. So I have a negative, and I'm going to put the 3 in place because x equals to negative plus 16. And it gives me 13. So this is perfectly balanced, and all it took was a few seconds to put it in and know that this is my correct answer. Now, when I look over here, I see on this one right here that we have a denominator of 8 and 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for the biggest denominator, which is 8. And I'm going to see, can we say 8 divided by 4 and come up with a whole number? And yes, it is. So that means I'm going to divide everything through by 8. So this side gets multiplied by 8 right here. Now I do not put an 8 right here because all of this, see how this is in parentheses, goes with this. This is considered one part right here. But there's no parentheses over here, so everything, each term gets multiplied by 8. So when we multiply right here, when we say 8 times 3, and then we're going to divide it, get your answer, and then divide it by 8, you see that we come up with 3. In other words, 8 divided by 8 will cancel out right here. So now you're left with 3, and bring this down. 8 times 1, and you can put all this at one time in the calculator. 8 times 1 divided by 4, and that will give you 2. And I put 2 right here. 9 times 8 is 72. Now we're going to go back, and since we clear the fractions, we're going to clear parentheses, multiply all the way out, and you see it gives you this. Bring this side down. And then undo addition right here. When you do, it's going to be subtract 2x from both sides. And 6x minus 2x is 4x minus 24 equals 72. Undo subtraction again. So you're going to add 24 to each side, bring down your 4x, and then the last step is always to undo multiplication. So you're going to divide both sides by 4, and that will give you 24. And like before, I can quickly go through this and I can check to see if this is correct. So I'm going to go to 3 alpha y equals, oops, let me try this again. Alpha y equals, and so I have alpha y equals, and I'm going to put 3 over 8, and then I'm going to put in 2. And my answer is 24. So I'll put that in parentheses, minus 8, parentheses, and that's all on one side. So I'm going to put equals, and this side equals to 15. So that means that this side also has to equal 15. So I'm going to go to alpha y equals, and I put, I'm going to type in 1/4. Then I'm going to go to my x. My x is 24. And I'm going to put plus 9. And you see that it gives you 15. So this does equal out to each other. It is a perfect equation. Equation means that they're both equal, both sides of it. Now, when I look at this one right here, just like before, we're going to use distributive property to get rid of these parentheses right here. So when I do this, this is what I'm going to have left. And when I multiply -2 times 3 is a -6. -2 times 2x is a -4x. And bring down your other 4x. Now add 4 plus a -4. And you see that that cancels out to 0. Don't put 0x down. You don't need it. Bring down what's left on each side. And you see you have a -6, -6. So this one right here is true. So your answer is infinitely many solution or all real numbers, one of these two. Do not put this as your answer. Now on this side right here, you see that you have the numerator of 2 right here, the numerator and denominator, so denominator of 2 right here. So you're going to multiply 2 right here to both sides. And when you do, this cancels out. Bring down your c plus 5. And then multiply 18 times 2 is 36 over here. We're going to undo addition, subtraction. So you're going to minus 5 from each side. And c will give you 31. And just like before, it does not take you but just a few seconds to put it back into your calculator. So you're going to put in 31 plus 5 over 2. And that should give you 18, and it does. So check your answers. Now, looking at number 9, here's a few extra ones right here that I threw in here to help you. And now looking at this right here, you have two denominators, 6 and 3. So just like before, pick the biggest number, and can 3 go into 6 an even number of times without being a decimal? So 6 divided by 3 does go in even number of times. It's a whole number that you're looking for, which is 2. So that is why you're going to use 6 all the way across. If it did give you a decimal, then you cannot use 6. You would just simply multiply 6 times 3 together and come up with 18 and multiply 18 all the way across. So when I look at this right here, I can put in 6. So 6 times 5 is 30. 30 divided by 6 is 5. So this cancels out. 6 times 2 is 12. Divided by 3 is 4. And bring down your -4c. 1 times 6 is 6. So when I add my like terms together right here, since I have c's on the same side, it's going to be 1c equals 6, but you don't have to have the coefficient of 1 right here. You can simply write it down, c equals to 6. And just like before, check your answers. So put in alpha y equals, and put in 5 over 6, and come out from underneath it, parentheses, and put your 6, parentheses, minus alpha y equals. So 2 over 3, and hit enter. And let me look at this again. So I have 5 over 6, 5 over 6, and that's times 6 minus 2/3. And I'm going to look at this. And so 6 times 5 is 30. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Bring down that down. 6 times 2 is 12. And 12 divided by 3 will give you 4. So 5 minus 4 will give you 1, 1c. 1 times 6 is 6. And when we look at this right here, and when we put this back in, you see that it does not match. So let's look at this again. And okay, so now look at this problem right here. I had I typed in the problem wrong, and there should be the letter C right here. So when you put this in right here and check back into it, put the 6 in it, it does give you an answer of 1. So it's always good to double check to make sure that you did write it down correctly. And this, I just typed it in wrong, left off my letter C. Now, looking at this right here, you see you have a denominator of 3 and 2. So I'm going to check, well, 3 is my biggest number. Can I say this? Can I say 3 divided by 2? And you always put your biggest number in first. And I see it gives you a decimal, so I cannot use this right here to multiply, to get rid of my fractions all the way across. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to multiply 3 times 2 together. 3 times 2 will give me 6. So now I'm going to multiply all the way through by 6. 6 times 2 is 12, divided by 3 is 4. 6 times 1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. 14 times 6 is 84. Now, when I look at this right here, I'm going to combine my like terms together right here. My 4m plus my 3m is 7m. Then I'm going to undo multiplication, and my answer is 12. If I were to substitute 12 back into the m's right here, just like I did over here, it would give me the same answer. Now, look at number 11. On number 11, I see I have I've got to get rid of parentheses right here. I do not have any fractions, so I'm going to use distributive property, and when I multiply out, and also look at this right here, there's a minus in between these two sets of parentheses. That is understood to be a -1 right here. So I'm going to use distributive property right here, and that's what I have. Now I'm going to multiply -1 times each of these, and this is what I come up with, and I equals 18. Combine my like terms. My 4x minus 1x is 4x. Now add -40 plus the -6 together, and you come up with a -46. Undo addition right here and subtraction, and when you work it out and then undo multiplication, you'll come out with x equals 16. If you were to substitute 16 back in place of your x's right here, it will give you 18. So you can quickly, very quickly, check to see if it is the correct answer. So when I look at this right here, my answer is 16. I'm going to put in parentheses, 5 parentheses, and then 16 minus 8 minus parentheses 16 plus 6 parentheses, and that gives you 18, and that does work out. Now, look at all these parentheses right here. And if I do not have a number after the negative right here, that is understood to be a coefficient. That is understood to be a 1 right here. So I'm going to multiply all the way out, like I just did. Multiply this all the way out and get this, and then bring this side down. And then go back and combine like terms. So -2x plus the -2x gives you -4x. -2 plus a -8 gives you -10. Undo addition and subtraction right here. So take your x over to the left-hand side. You want your variables always to be on the left-hand side. And then add these right here. This is what you end up with. And then when we work it all the way out and divide, remember division, undo multiplication is the very last step, and that will give you a -10. So if you substitute -10 over here, also right over here, these two would be exactly equal. So when I put this in right here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this, I'm just going to put in negative and then parentheses. I'm going back to my original problem. Parentheses, -10 plus 2 plus 2 again. I'm right here. Negative, and then -10 minus 4, and yes, you have to use the parentheses again. So every parentheses has to have a partner. Now, when I look at this right here, I see that I have a 2 right here. This parentheses right here goes with this one. This one goes with this one. Now I hit enter. And now let's see what we did wrong. So go to and hit enter. And you see that right there? That has to go in as a minus. The difference between a minus and a negative is like this. Don't delete it, just type directly over top of it. Look at the difference. A negative is higher up on the number, it's smaller. A minus is lower down, halfway down the number, and it's bigger. Now hit enter. Okay, let's go to it again. And so this right here, the 2, oh, okay. Now, I'm going to just start all over again. So I have a negative, parentheses, 2, parentheses, negative 10, close it off, plus 2, close it off. Remember, every parentheses has to have a partner. Now, parentheses, and then we have a negative, and now parentheses, negative 10, right here, close it off, minus 4, and hit enter, and you get 30. So let's put in this side, and that should give you 30. So negative, parentheses, and here's your answer of a negative 10, close it off, plus 20, and it gives you 30. So this does match when you do that. Now, let's look at some more problems. So when I look at some more problems, look at number 13 right here. You're going to undo addition, subtraction, because there's no fractions, there's no parentheses. We don't combine like terms, so we go directly to number 4. And when we undo addition, subtraction, we're going to come out with this. And then we're still undoing addition, subtraction, and you come out to this part right here in the brown. So now you're going to undo multiplication. So you're going to divide both sides by a negative 3, a negative 5, and you'll come up with the answer of a negative 3. Substitute negative 3 back in here, and they should equal. Now, number 14, you see that there's no fractions to get rid of, but we do have parentheses. So we're going to use distributive property, and when we multiply out, this is what we get on this side. Then over here, see that minus? That's a 1 after it. So now we're going to have to multiply by negative 1 all the way across. Negative 1 times x is a negative 1x. Negative 1 times 1 is a negative 1. Combine like terms right here. Remember, you always start back over here on the left-hand side and go to the right. Always left to right. So bring this down, just like I did, left to right. Combine your like terms, which is 2x. Bring down the negative 1. Now, since we've already combined like terms, we're going to undo addition, subtraction. This is what we did right here, the opposite of a 2x is a negative 2x. Add these, bring down what's left on each side. And now we're still undoing addition, subtraction, and we end up with 4x equals to 8. And you see that you're going to undo multiplication, which is your last step. So x equals to 2. If I substitute 2 in place of this x right here, on both sides, this side should match this, just like what we've been doing. Now, number 15, you see that you have 9 plus 5x, and you see these right here are your like terms. So there's no fractions to get rid of, there's no parentheses, but you do have to combine like terms. So 7x plus a negative 2x gives you 5x. Bring down both sides, undo addition and subtraction right here. And you're going to end up with 9 equals to 9. And when you do, you see that is true. So this is infinitely many solutions. Or you can say all real numbers. And then I use the abbreviation for numbers right here. Instead of writing numbers out, you can do this. Now, number 16, you see that there's a minus in front of parentheses, but not a number. So it's understood to be a 1. So we're going to multiply all the way through by negative 1. And this is what we come up with right here. Now, I brought everything down on this side. Multiply all the way through right here. Now we're going to combine like terms, and remember, always start from left to right. 14 minus 3 will give you 11. Bring everything else down. Start all over again. Start on the left-hand side. Undo addition and do the opposite of addition and subtraction. So minus 2x. This cancels out. Bring down your 11. This cancels out right here. Bring down your negative 16. And you see that 11 does not equal to negative 16. You see I have an equal with a line drawn right through it. That means it does not equal. So this is false. So the answer is no solution. So this is what infinitely many solutions looks like, or all real numbers, and this is what no solution looks like. If it's false right here, it's no solution. If it's true, it's infinitely many solutions or all real numbers. So go back and look at your notes and see if there's any questions. If you do, you can ask me.